Good afternoon, everybody. This is Terry Hidden Hollow Loft. Like I said, I was going to show you how to build these stove covers. This is our personal one. This is one of the first ones I built. Excuse the mess, but as you see, basically sets up on top of the electric stove and covers it. And with the handles, you can actually put stuff on the tray and use it as a serving tray. These are made from pallets and reclaimed wood. I have one outside right now. I'm going to show you how I do it. Y'all hang on and we'll get started today. This is one I'm making for a gift. It's going to our music teacher at our church. Apparently the kids are all going to put their handprints all over it, and we're going to put her name in the middle of it with music notes and a couple handles on here. We're going to polyurethane it up real good, and this is early American. The one I showed you before is called gun stock. That's the stains that I've used for these two projects. And also, I'll show you one of these later. This is also pallet wood. As you see, there's a cross in the middle of it all. We either do vinyl or we do paint nowadays, and we'll coat it all real good with a coat of polyurethane, either oil-based or water-based. All this stuff is learning procedures, and I've got a bunch of these ordered, and I've got a bunch going out. It's been turned into a business. But if you like the clean contemporary look, you can always go to Lowe's, buy some 1x12s, some 1x4s. This right here is all of them are basically 30 inches by 22 inches, give and take a half an inch here and there. This one's going to be my modern style one. I'm going to paint it solid white. It's going to have black handles, and I'll have a black monogram in the middle of it and everything. Just in case you don't feel like tearing down pallets, because it does get to be a pain in the butt. And this is what I'm talking about. Today I went to Lowe's. Some people buy materials, parts. I bought stains, and I bought hardware, sand and pads, and they give me these for free. Your main bet when you're making these is try to get one that has enough of these rails to equal up to 22 inches. You know, they're usually around 22 inches wide. Long, they have to be at least 30 inches for you to cut them down. Usually what I do is I cut right along the rail here and right on the other side, and then I wiggle the boards a little bit and I cut them off with my Sawzall. I don't mind leaving the nail heads in them. I do make sure that there's no nail head stick or leftover nail hanging out the back of the board itself, because that'll scratch the stoves. Everything I do, even when I put the screws in, which I'll show you later, they're all recessed enough where nothing scratches the top of the stove. But as you can see, this is what I got going on. I've got one in here ready to go. I've got a size, so let's go get started. This is part of the order that I pulled out today. I'm not going to be able to do more than this. As you see, the first one is 30 by 22 and a half. That means it's 30 long by 22 and a half inches deep. The next one is 22 by 30, which is basically the same thing. There's 4 of them. They're 30 inches wide, 22 inches deep. So in all together today, I'm going to try to make 5 of these. I'm not going to say I'll have them all stained ready to go, but I am going to try to make them. As you see, I've got all these boards right here. And what I like about these boards that I'm showing you is they've got natural grooves in them from the saw blade and designs, and this one's upside down. It doesn't matter if some of these are long or wide, because I'll tell you what, most of these run between 3 and 3.5 inches. And when you're trying to come up with 22 to 22 and a half, somewhere along the line, it's going to be off. You know, even if you get 6 of them that are 3.5 inches, that's still only 21 inches. You're going to need another inch. So what I will do a lot of the times is I will get rid of one of these 3.5s, take one of these 5.5s, and I'll cut whatever the difference is out of it to make up my 22 and a half. And a little here and there is really no big deal. It just adds to the characteristics. That's the main thing. You don't want nasty tore up wood all the time, because this is going to people's houses. But the whole reason people like pallet stuff is because of the characteristics of the wood. And as you can see, these saw marks and all that just adds to it. And I sand this all down real good and real smooth, so it's as clean as it can get and as pretty as I can get. and I'll put it all together. There's a certain way to do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the boards that I'm going to use. I'm going to go over here to my trusty chop saw from Harbor Freight, and I'm going to chop these down to the right length. After that, if I need to rip one of these down, I'll pull up my Harbor Freight table saw. It's my Harbor Freight air compressor. All these tools are just great for the average, handyman. I am no expert. Believe me, I get better every time I do these things, and my work shows that I really care about what I'm doing. But I am no pro. I'm not a cabinet maker. I don't even have a router yet, but I have one lined up. Anyway, let me get these things cut up, and I'll show you what I got going on. All right, quick case in point. Hold on, I have no rights to this music. I want to get my videos shut off again because I have a song in the background. Does that ever happen to you? This happened to me. I'm looking for 22.5. Sorry about the camera action. As you see, this is 24 altogether. I'm going to take and cut 1.5 inches off of this board here, my table saw, and I'm going to take it and I'll stagger it in the middle up here somewhere, and that'll make up for my 22.5 inches I need. After I'm done with all that, I'll take them all from over here on my chop saw, and I will cut them all down to 30 inches. Sand them all down real good, and then I'll make the side rails. Hold on a second and I'll get back with you. It's hard to get it exact, but this is almost 22.5. Basically 22 and 3/8, give or take, all by 30. 30. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to sand all these up. Then I'll go ahead and get me a couple boards that I'm going to use for the sides right here. As for example, see the side right here, this here, and this here. That's the side that the handles will go on. And that'll be it until I get ready to stain it. Y'all hang on. As you see, it's coming along just fine. A couple tips here when working with pallet wood. This one I'm doing right here is going to be stained a dark walnut. It's going to have a monogram on it, and it's going to be polyurethane over top of it. Now, since I sanded it smooth and it's pretty, but there's still some stains that are deep down in the wood, it's really no big deal because with the dark walnut stain, I'm sorry, is going to be so dark that none of that will matter. As you see, I got my 30 inches long this way, my 22.5 inch this way, and I made these boards. Like I said, these boards here are where I'm going to mount my handle on here. So one of them had a little mess up at the end down there, so I glued it. It is all going to be covered with this board anyway, but I'm kind of funny about everything, so I want to make sure it doesn't split later, which it shouldn't. I probably want to take it and put it in the middle here somewhere so that it's kind of squeezed in and we'll have a lot less chance. But if you're going to do a lighter stain, like a natural or anything really light colored, you might want to try to find the cleanest pallets you can find in order to do this. The next step is going to be with my drill, my power drill, and my cordless drill. This right here is a countersink bit. You don't want to set the bit towards too far so that when you screw into the back of this board here, which I'll show you in a minute, it doesn't come through here. And at the same time, you want the countersunk because you want your screw to be flush, at least flush. You want it to kind of sink in a little bit further than the surface of the pallet board, because like I said, you don't want it sliding around and scratching your countertop. And I don't want people complaining to me about that later. So far that's where we're at. What I'm going to do now is flip it over, which is basically what I like to do is take these top boards, turn it upside down, lay it out like that. So that's the back side. This is the side you won't see. And slide these down. I'll do the same with this one. A lot of times I'll go ahead and take my first board. Let's say I'm going to take this one. Now flip this over because this is the back side right here. This is the way we want it. You want to line it up in the corner there, like that. And you want to have it lined up in the corner here. You know, the bottom and the side. You want all that lined up. And you want at least, I usually diagonal them here. One here, one here. You want to countersink them here and here. And then I'll take and I'll put my other one in at the other side at the top. And do the same thing, make it square. And then I'll take these guys and I'll lay them out in the middle. That way, if you have a little difference in between the boards, like a gap, you can even that out all the way through it. It's not like you wait till you get to the end, you have a 1/4 inch gap when you could have had, say, a 16th or an 1/8 gap between all the boards. You don't want a big gap at the end because then you just have to move everything around. So I'm going to get started on that. And when I get about halfway through, I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay, as you can see, I've got them all lined up. Little wiggling here and there. Some of these birds, you know, they're not exactly straight when they come from off the pallets. So you got to do your best. As I screw these down, I will make sure to bridge the gap a little bit here, a little bit there. As you see the corners, like I said, I put my 2 end ones on first. What I like to do is line them up here and here. Like I said, countersink. Put the screws in. And you want them to go in there nice and flush, but you don't want to go in too deep because you don't want them coming through on the other side and sticking out. It becomes a pain in the butt. What I use is this. I use the 1-inch coarse drywall screws, number 2 Phillips. You know, they have the coarse ones and they have the fine thread ones. I'll go with the coarse because we are talking about wood here. And they're a lot cheaper when you buy them in bulk than they are the wood screws. Hey, you're not going to see them. They're not going anywhere. They're going to last forever just like anything else. I mean, that's all that really matters. But like I said, after I get all these screwed in, I'll show you what I have. I'll flip it over and show you exactly what's going on the other side. And we'll go from there. Y'all hang on. I'll be right back. Just for your information, I'm getting ready to figure out how to set me up a new camera so I can do this continuously instead of having to cut off and everything. I'm doing this on my phone right now. I am no photo genius or anything like that. As you see, my yard is a disaster. Trying to get my fire going. Tank, tell everybody hello. There's Tank. Everybody's got snow on them. As you see, it's snowing in West Virginia. Y'all hang on. I'll be right back. Alright, so let's finish this up. As you see, all the screws are countersunk. I put 2 screws in each board, except for this small one here that was 2 inches wide. Just put 1 in there. But they're all countersunk. The whole back has been sanded. Now the back will be stained, and it will be polyurethane too, which will protect it, and at the same time, put a coating in between the wood and whatever you be setting it on. So I'm going to do is, real quick, is I'm going to flip it over. Show you how nice it turned out. Look at them marks. Isn't that so cool? Like I said, it's going to be a dark walnut. But after a countersunk, everything's flipped over. Here's the sides. And this is what I'm going to do. That and that. There's your handles. What do you think about that? Screw them in. What I do is center the handle in the center and between the width, 22.5. What is that? 11 3/4 would be center. And put the screws in there. I'm not going to show you nothing else today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to tear down some more of these pallets I got out here in the truck. I need to build 4 for an order I have to try to get that going today too. After I'm done building, I will put a video on the staining procedure of my wife putting the monogram on this, which uses acrylic paint. And what we've learned is if you put regular oil-based polyurethane over top of acrylic paint or anything else, really, it tends to yellow it a little bit. So when you got white paint, it kind of tints it a little. So we learned that water-based polyurethane will not yellow the paint. So that's what we're going to do from here on out. If this was just a flat-out cover that didn't have any kind of monogram or anything on it, I would use regular oil-based polyurethane. I love that stuff. This I'll give you a little shot of what I'm talking about. That's a clear satin down here on the bottom. I usually go by the gallon. This is what I had left over. I have a gallon in the house. But there's clear satin and there's clear gloss, and I love my clear gloss. I use Minwax stains. That's what I've been using. They say you can use pre-stain conditioner. I've used it on a few projects, but I don't really mess with it too much. These are pallet projects. There's nothing fancy about it. I will say the main thing about it is if you want to use old gray and wood, the rustic stuff for a pallet that's been sitting out in the weather for 2 years, I don't know what to tell you about that, except for I would sand it down real smooth, and I would use a dark color. Or I would pull out a planer and plane it down and try to get to the natural wood. But it's so much easier to take those, cut them up, throw them in a fire barrel, go out and get yourself some pretty clean pallets, which I try to make each pallet be able to give me one of these covers, at least. Because, you know, they're all 3.5 inches. When you're talking 22 inches, you need at least 6. It's not always that easy to find, but they have to also be at least 30 inches worth a piece. And since I like to cut the ends off, which I'll show you, these are the ends. These are the ends. You see how there's 3 or 4 inches hanging over on the ends right there? I like to make sure that my pallets are wide enough to provide the wood that I need to use. Tearing them all down and having those ends with those nails in it is just a lot of work, and it's just a lot of junk. I don't mind having a couple nail heads, because these nail heads here, that adds rustic appeal. People do not want these pallets because they're clean. They want them because of the effect. And I like to provide that. But as for my other thing, you know, let's be happy. You see this stocking holder here that's made out of real picket fence pieces? Oh, I must have made 20 of them this year. It's my last one of the year. I ran out of materials. I stopped taking orders because I've got well over 25 or so orders for these things, and I got a lot of work to do. And making these videos kind of slows it down, but hey, who else is going to teach you this stuff, right? No kidding. I usually get about 50 bucks for these things. And you see how it does not take me long to build them. The hardest part of this is tearing the pallets down, actually going and getting the pallets. But as you can see, I got me a good place to get them. When you can get that many at one time, it cuts down on gas, my time, because I had to go to Lowe's anyway. Not an endorsement, but Lowe's is where I get most 90% of my supplies. Also because they sell Minwax. You're not paying me to endorse them either. But when you can go to Lowe's and get your materials and wind up with all your materials, all your wood for free, hey, you can't beat it. Anyway, this is Terry over here at Hidden Hollow. I know I call it Hidden Hollow Loft. It ought to be Hidden Hollow everything, because I do a little bit of everything nowadays. But anyway, if you want to build these for somebody, hey, more power to you. If you need vinyl, or if you need stencils made for your back window of your vehicles, for anything, I mean, we can do it. I can show you some more stuff that my wife does now. She's into etching glass now, and she's making all kinds of little signs, like the little signs you see in the thrift stores that say believe or say faith or have Bible verses. Hey, we can do it all. Me and Tank, tell everybody goodbye. Tank, tell everybody goodbye. Say something. He ain't gonna say nothing. He's looking for the mouse that's in the shop. Y'all have a great day. Any questions? Any suggestions? Any tips? Thumbs up, subscribe. Y'all have a great day.